Hi listeners, Harika here, and I'm super excited to welcome you to Upptalk. If you're ready to learn and get your hands work wonders in the world of information technology, then you're in the right place. When I say Upptalk, we are not just another edtech company. Consider we are your learning partner committed to unlocking your full potential. Whether you're stepping into the world of technology for the first time or looking to advance your career, we provide top-tier, hands-on courses to build up your career. Let's take our first step towards learning here and explore it. Let's investigate SAP, a well-known enterprise resource planning system, and discover its many functionalities and business applications.
Now let's quickly see what I have done. So basically what I have done is that there'll be. So as a system user ID, I created this attribute view yesterday. So table. So I was not able to activate this attribute view. I found the reason why I was not able to activate this attribute view. Actually, there is a privilege that we need to assign to the schema itself. So for that reason, we were not able to activate our attribute view. So if you remember, like we have created a table with all your names in it yesterday. So let me go and see what the table has. Where is that table? Let me go with down. Is not here. And now I'm able to create this. And did I create a new table? I created a table called practice. I can see from where this practice is coming. It's there in hello schema. So by placing the cursor on this, I'm able to see which schema it is. It is there in hello schema. It is low. Stay in hello, schema should be visible. So what we have done? We have created a schema called sorry. We have created a table called practice. In practice, what we have done? We have included a data. What data we have included? Let me see the data. So this is the data that we had. Labi manuals or Bansha 1. I added this recently. Let me close this. So this is a table that I've created. In order to use this particular table as part of a privilege, analytical privilege, you need to extend the schema here basically to this schema. You have to assign a privilege which I am going to show you now. We have to execute an SQL command in order to give this privilege to the users. Until and unless you assign it, you will not be able to do anything. So the schema goes something like this. So what we need to do, we need to click on this schema and open SQL console. And now we can type. We can type the schema brand. Select all schema. Select all schema. What is our schema name? In this instance, hello, hello. There are some basics, but this is a poll with grant of. So this is a privilege that you need to buy, not so asking my fellow on execute it. We have successfully granted this to a particular user, only then it is able to let it. Allowed me to basically work to activate this. Calculation, your attribution attribute view, basically by. We don't remember this is that once we add these privileges to the role, we don't check. Actually, we don't assign this privilege separately to a particular schema. I'll show you when we go through our roles. Concept. That's why I was not able to remember this, but this was the thing that we need to do. I can need to assign it. Then only I was able to generate this attribute. Then I went into this. Sorry, this is a new test user ID, which I created to see whether I'm able to access this particular view with the restriction with the analytical privileges that I've created. I've created two analytical privileges. One analytical. I have created two views. Attribution attribute your calculation view. All created from scratch so that you understand. Let the close up. So what I'll do, basically there is already a package that I created, that is, and I already created some of views under this. So I'll let me create a new package. I'll create a package under your name. I'll have the name as, and I'll be here. So what I'll do, I'll say this package. Once I save this package, I'll have this package here. I'll create a view, attribute view. The table is same as we have created. As the table is going to be the same, I'll create an attribute to basically by created a calculation view. Is that in a calculation view you can add this attribute view. I'll show you how we do that. Calculation view can utilize both attribute view and analytical view. Basically, it's a mix of both. So you can use both actually. So today we are only discussing about the classic. What do you say? A classic model instead of SQL privilege. Let's say I'll show you what a calculation means. So you can select anything here as we discussed yesterday and subtable. The standard type would be graphical instead of SQL. The regression can be applied on anything, any view, calculation view or attribute view or anything. I haven't had to get on anything, but it's a modeler's job. This is only for the example that I'm telling you. Only on the restriction purpose we are going to discuss. We're not going to discuss on the views entirely. How to design views on all these views. We are not going to cover that. We'll check how to restrict that particular data that you have in a view. Suppose in a view, let us say I only want to see null-based data. I don't want to see Saurabh or Harsha's data. I want to see null-based data and I want to see name null-by and what is his gender. I only want to see this information in my view. So how to restrict a user in seeing only this information? So that is our job as a security company, because we are not responsible to create any views or calculation views or something like that. We are creating in this course, we are creating the calculation view or the attribute view so that we will be able to understand the concept of restricting that attribute view or calculation view, because we don't have any consultants with us. So we should act as a modeler also, so that we can explain you. But in real time, what happens? Modeler basically creates these views, and you and the modeler together will be part of creating the analytics privilege, which I'll show you. Let me create. Let me create an attribute view first, and then we can quickly jump to the other things. What we'll have? We'll have back 20 or something like that. We'll have as back 20. This is done. Now I'll save it. We have created an attribute view. Now what I'll do? I'll simply add a table here. What is the table name that we have created? It is practice. We type the table and add it here. So practice is under the package. Hello. So it will come practice. Name will come under the package. The schema name will also come. I'll add the table in this. And in semantics, what I'll do? I'll double click on semantics. I'll go to the view properties. What happened? That we have to select this. We have to select these columns, whatever columns we have in the table. And I'll go to semantics. I'll go to view properties. I'll make sure everything is standard. This is the difference. We'll discuss about SQL analytical privilege, but now we are only checking classical analytic privilege. I already told you in the previous class the difference between classic and SQL is that in classic you can only restrict some base. You can only do some basic restrictions, which we are going to discuss. But when it comes to SQL and analytic privilege, you can write some SQL queries, strong SQL queries, and you can further differentiate the data. You can further restrict the data. So for that we need to write some SQL queries in order to create analytical privileges using SQL. In real time, both are used effectively. But if you want to have some strong restriction, you should always go with SQL analytical privilege, which we are going to discuss. It is going to be a big class. So I selected classical political privilege. It will come by default. What I do, I'll basically save this. I'll basically save and I'll also activate it. So now I have activated it. See whether it is activated or not here. So now that the inactive symbol was gone earlier, we were getting the symbol because we are adding a table which doesn't have that privilege assigned to that particular schema, which is coming from, suppose, practices imported from which table? No, sorry. Practices are imported from which schema? Hollow schema. But hollow schema was not granted the privileges privilege. What I was saying earlier, what is that privilege? That privileges grant. Select on schema to SS underscore report with grant option. So that is the schema. So I have created this attribute view. If you want to see the content of that, just click on the attribute view and just click on data preview. Click on Data Preview and what we are going to do in Value Access. Let us has number because as number will be your count, and let us give name and gender here and see what happens. Now I am able to see all the data here in manual NLP. Every data I am able to see, but what should be the ideal scenario? Let us say I want the end user to only see data of NLP. So how can I restrict it? There comes our analytical privilege into the picture. So what I'm going to do on top of NLP, so NLP is our package. On top of NLP, I'll create a new alert analytic privilege. It's very easy. I'll select the analytical privilege. I'll create some privilege name called new privilege. I'll name it as new privilege. Something like that. But basically what you should do, you should always start an analytic in real-time scenario with a n underscore with the free text. And n underscore your free text. You should never give some random names. But since it is a practice system, I can do whatever I want. And also, it is not a skill and the good blue ridge. We are creating classical technical privilege. We are going to discuss a skill, and that's in coming sessions. I'll click on next. And which package? Which attribute view you want to import. You want to import an attribute view which is under package NLP. So I'll select this. I'll add this attribute view and I'll click on finish. So automatically your attribute view is imported. Once your attribute view is imported, you can simply scroll to and you can add the validity of this privilege, since what time it should be valid. So here you have different operators equal to between. You can select whatever you want. I'll select between. I'll select some from date, would be starting from today. You cannot give any past dates. From date cannot be your past date, and to date should always be your future date. Mostly I'll give 2 months privilege or something like this. So privilege validity. I've given associated attributes restriction. Which attributes do you want? I'll add everything. I want S number, gender, everything to be added here. All added. I added everything. Or what we can do. I only want it restricted with only the name NLP. I don't want to restrict it with any other name. I only want a restriction with name or with name SOAP. I only want to see data of SOAP. I'll assign this restriction. Again, operator can be of anything. It can be between greater than equal to based on your requirement. For now, I'll only keep it as equal. I don't have 2 conditions. I only have 1 condition since it is a very simple table. I'll only go with equal. And value what I'll do. I'll select the data I want. I want SOAP's information. I want to see whether or what is the gender of SOAP and what is the. So let us see. I have added it. Now, after doing this, what I'm going to do. So I've selected everything that I need. So basically what I'll do, I'll save and validate. So once I've saved and I validate, I should see. See analytical privileges created. We will not create new privileges whenever we modify the views actually. So once, if it is only necessary, then we are going to modify that particular privilege. If suppose, let us see in real-time scenario how it will be, and the table data will be mostly based on your company code. Let us say based on your company code. So you'll create a privilege for that particular company code to filter only. So the data for a particular company code. Now what we did is selected fixed equal to SOAP. Instead we'll select Suppose it is for a Great Britain region. They'll have some company code called GB10. So what we'll do as a value, we'll select from the table as GB10. So when this analytical privilege is assigned to a particular user will only be able to see the data for GB10. So see sales data will be. Suppose they have sales data specific for each company code that they have in their organization. So end user should only see the sales data for GB10. So GB10 will become your unique value here. You're going to create a restriction on GB10. So when this privilege is assigned to the end user, he'll only be data for GB10. You understood the concept. This is just a base, simple example I've given you, but in real time it will differ. Let us say your end user has to see only the data for a particular reason. Only he shouldn't see the whole data ham. Without analytical privilege, that restriction is not possible. If you are going to directly assign this particular package to the user, happily he'll be able to see everything. See if NLP package is there, what I'll do. I'll assign NLP package directly to the user by assigning him all the like. The read access is also critical sometimes in organizations. There might be some sensitive table data which is created under this package which the user shouldn't see. In such scenarios, what happens? So you'll not be able to restrict it if you send directly the package to the user, because there is also a concept called package privileges in the user. So let me show you that. What we have seen, this user ID is there, happy is there. Let us say in a package privilege, you are assigning everything to the user. Now let us say I have assigned this. Oh, now also what you'll do, you'll assign this package. In order to see this, no privilege applied to you, you'll assign this package here with reported access. But if you don't assign any restriction in your analytical privilege, now in analytical privilege, I send restrictions for this particular package. But package name is what? For prac, I have assigned two restrictions, one for calculation view and one for attribute view. Now, the end user will be only able to see the data that we decide. Or if you are not assigning any analytical privilege, there will be no restriction on that particular package. He'll be able to see whatever tables are there. Whatever views are there under that particular package called prac, the user will be able to see everything. The package and analytical privilege goes hand in hand. If you want, you can give prac access completely. But suppose if your organization is saying no, we shouldn't give global access to the user and user, we have to restrict it to a particular reason. Then analytical privilege will come into the picture. Where were we? We have created a privilege, new privilege. Now let us create a user. You will get an idea. I'll show you both the scenarios. One scenario where a user is able to see everything in that particular package called an LB. And in one scenario where the user is not able to see his user, is only able to see the data of SOAR. Then you will come to understand. And this is a bit complicated. You're into, like you have hands on an SQL also. So then it's not going to be very difficult when we are going to discuss on SQL privileges. It's going to be easy only. So let's create a new user. New user. Again, I'll create it as a because I have not created your ID yet. Let me create it for you. I'll give I've given you the password and the password changes. Also not required to use the password. In system privileges, I'm not going to give you anything. In object privileges, yes, I do need to give you something in object privilege. So in object privilege, what? First, what I'm going to do, I'm going to save this user ID, that is executed user ID, because it will give you all the standard access that you need. This public role will be granted automatically. An object your own schema will be created. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to add the schemas. The basic schemas. Two schemas needs to be added in order for you to access any kind of information model in the sense attribute view and calculation view. If you want to see any attribute view, analytical view or calculation, you beat any information model. If you want to see it or if you want to access the data, you need to have basically two important schemas assigned with select access. Basically, that is this underscore BA. So once I select this is underscore BA, you will be able to see two schemas is underscore BA and says underscore BSC. So always remember, whenever you're creating a new user, you should always select these schemas and don't give them wider access. Always give them access to only select so that they can select the data select. And same thing goes to sales underscore BHC. I'm going to select this time. That is done. Now I'm going to do what I'm going to simply ask. Wait, what I'm going to do? I'm going to also send the package. What is the package name that we have created? It is NelB. Under NelB, we have all the data. Let me type NelB. NelB is there. I'll assign NelB. I'll only give read access. I'm only giving read access. I'll not allow him to change any data under NelB, but fine. So this is assigned. This is assigned. Also, there is one more very important privilege that we need to assign, which is repository underscore RST, which I explained to you in the last class. So if you are not giving repository underscore RST, so what happens? You will not be able to access anything under the content folder. You will be only able to see the schema folder. Will not be able to access anything under the content folder. So repository underscore RST is very important. Let it come. Repository underscore RST. Also, you're going to give only select access only. Sorry, execute access only. You're going to give only execute access here. I'm going to click on execute. Now what will happen? NelB, I have not created the analytical privilege that we have created. Analytical privilege, I did not assign. So what is going to happen if you're not going to assign any analytical privilege? So this user, NelB, will be able to see everything. So now let me log in as user NelB here. I'll basically minimize all these steps so that there is no confusion. I'm logging in as a NelB user. I created a new user ID. I'm going to log in with this ID null. I'll give a password. So I'll click on next. I'm able to log in as NelB. So what I'm going to do, I'm quickly going to go to content folder, NelB package. I'm going to see the attribute view. What I'm going to see? I'm going to see the content. I'm going to see the data preview of track 20. So what I'll do, I'll simply drop here this number. What is it saying? User is not authorized. So what is happening here? Basically, since we have created that particular analytical privilege for this table, so it is not allowing me. You have read access for this package, but what you have done, you have restricted view for this particular back 20 using the analytical privilege under the same package. In new preview, you have assigned this attribute to you. That means in order to view any data, you have to assign this new privilege. If, let us say, if you have not created any privilege on top of that attribute view or a calculation view, the user will be able to see everything under this. So since you have restricted it with analytical, I'll show you. Let me assign the privilege and nullity. Null B is already open. Please do like, share and subscribe to our channel. For more information, contact us sales@uptalk.com.